So let's get some breaking updates that have just come in, where the Pakistani Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif has addressed the nation in the aftermath of the ceasefire that was agreed to with India. And what is interesting is that he's claiming victory. He's congratulated the nation after the recent ceasefire. In a televised address, he's thanked the people of Pakistan, Pakistan's armed forces, and also Pakistan's allied nations for their support. The Pakistani Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif referred to India, its neighbor, as an enemy nation, and spoke about the Pakistani response. Pakistan's Prime Minister's address was more about the usual rhetoric. He's extended special thanks to China and Türkiye, along with Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates and Qatar. Shehbaz Sharif has said that the US President Donald Trump brokered the ceasefire, and this is in contrast to India's stand, which considers it to be a clear bilateral issue, and has issued the statement that it was brokered after direct talks between the DGMOs of the two nations. All right, now joining us on the broadcast, we've got Mr. Nitin Gokhale, who's a national security analyst and also an author. Mr. Gokhale, thank you very much indeed, sir, for joining us here on this broadcast on WION. Now, considering what has happened this evening, where in the aftermath of the ceasefire that was agreed upon by the two nations that came into effect at 5 p.m., just a few hours afterwards, there were drones that were spotted over the Indian skylines, and also considering the fact that it is the Americans who, for the Pakistanis, mediated this agreement. How do you think the Americans would be looking at the fact that the agreement that was mediated by the Americans, led by the Americans, stood just for 3 hours?
Well, I think the Americans would be the first thought they will get is to be of disappointment. But I think knowing President Trump's character and his approach to deal making, he would be livid, if not feeling let down by what Pakistan has done. Although I must say that as we speak, the Pakistani Foreign Office has just issued some statement, denying any ceasefire violations from their side.
Absolutely.
But there is enough video evidence and to back India's claim, and India wouldn't go on record with its foreign secretary speaking or making a statement on record where he says that of course India doesn't call it the ceasefire, it calls it a mutual understanding or understanding on halting all firing in all domains, land, sea and air. So this is not really binding, it's not a legal agreement or even something that the political leaders have agreed. It was just a agreement or a phone call between the two Director Generals of Military Operations.
Right.
So India will be watching and actually monitoring the situation. But Pakistan, as it is known for years and decades, is lying through its teeth. Shehbaz Sharif, who actually presided over decimation of 10 military air bases this morning by India, is cheerfully, after nearly at midnight Pakistan time, is proclaiming victory,
right,
which is what Pakistan state and Pakistani decision makers have always been behaving like.
You know, but also look at the language that has been used by Shehbaz Sharif. Not only is he claiming victory in a war that his DGMO has called in for a halt for, but the fact that he's thanking the Americans, he's thanking the Chinese, the Saudi Arabians, UAE and Türkiye, and then he says that Pakistan has won this confrontation. You know, but the fact is, on the ground, the Pakistanis simply could not sustain this conflict any longer, which is why they called in for a halt. Are we dealing with a nation that is even grappling with the reality around it?
It is a delusional nation, it is a delusional army, and they have fooled the world, particularly the West, led by the United States, for decades, like I mentioned. And to their utter shame, or at least the Americans should feel ashamed that they have funded, supported and sponsored a perfidious nation like Pakistan, which is not only supports but trains and equips terrorist organizations and gives them shelter, who then indulge in massacres and violence against India and Indian citizens, innocent Indian citizens for decades.
Right.
And India had actually punished Pakistan, has punished Pakistan under Operation Sindoor. And like a truly law-abiding, rules-based nation that India is, it took Donald Trump's word for a ceasefire or an understanding to cease fire.
Right.
But clearly within 3 hours, that understanding has been breached.
But the fact that Shehbaz Sharif refers to India as an enemy nation, if he starts by referring to India as an enemy nation, can there be any hope of a negotiation to establish permanent, lasting peace with the leadership of a nation that looks at its neighbor as an enemy?
Yes, I mean, that of course is the problem, but now India sort of agreed to the proposal from the United States, which must have got worried after India was pounding Pakistan over the past 72 hours. Now will not only rethink but also recalibrate its strategy. And in any case, if you look back over the past decade, India has followed a policy of not talking to Pakistan, not sort of giving it any importance,
Right.
either on the global stage or otherwise, and that policy actually rattles and angers Pakistanis, and therefore once in a while they do carry out these heinous acts
Right.
like the massacre in Pahalgam to attract attention and to engage India. But now I think India will be wiser, given what has happened. We'll have to wait till Sunday to figure out what exactly is happening, but I think this breach
Right.
is not going to inspire any confidence.
All right, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Nitin Gokhale, for joining us and getting us all that perspective there.